All right, welcome everyone. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you made it tonight for some creative time. And I want to just start out by taking some deep breaths together so we can all kind of get grounded and shake off anything that we've been carrying from the day. So let's just start by sitting up comfortably in a relaxed position with your feet touching the floor. And what I want you to do is just imagine Mother Earth sending energy, sending her breath up into the soles of your feet, and feel her earth energy coming up your legs, into your calves, up your thighs, into your belly, and start to inhale deeply, feeling this Mother Earth energy mingling with your own breath as you inhale. And then as you exhale, let go of all the stuff that you've been carrying and holding from the day. Any responsibilities, meeting other people's needs, just let it all go and be present. And let's just do one more again with your feet on the floor. Just feel Mother Earth's energy, her breath coming up through the soles of your feet, up your legs. And this time release and exhale with a sigh. Okay, so we're all here together. And I want you to also, just as you kind of, just let your body relax, let go, release any judgment. Anything you might have that you carry with respect to creating a card tonight. I want you all to feel that the inner critic can just go into the other room. We don't need that part. There's no right or wrong way to make art. So here we are on Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Yesterday and today are both celebrated, or it's also known as All Souls Day. And it is a time when the veil between the world is thin, this world and the other world. And I want to share with you a card I made. Can you see this okay? Okay, this is an early card that I made, and I'm giving it as an example of, I didn't know when I made it what it was, but after I looked at it, I really felt strongly that, oh, this is the veil is thin card. So this kind of gives you an idea of something that you might want to create, something archetypal like this in your playing today. So this is a time when we are close to those who have passed on, or our ancestors. And we might, feel them with us tonight. In fact, what I'd like you to do, if you have a candle handy, a pillar candle is best, because I don't really want you lighting just like a candlestick, because we have so many papers around us that we're going to be using. But if you have a pillar candle to light tonight, and again, just in honor of those who have passed on, those loved ones or ancestors who you might want to remember and feel close to tonight. You might have an ancestor who was a creative, artistic person, and maybe you want to call in their energy, or just someone who was caring and loving and that you want to remember. And they can help you tonight and be your guide and be with you. So I also wanted to share another card similar to this, because we can think about the ancestors listening. So here's a card called Listening to the Other Side. Can you see that okay? And again, I also want to just show that some cards can just have a few images. I think this card has 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 images on it. And so just to give you an idea, some can be very simple and some can be more intricate. And today we're going to be making, well, let me mention that it is Samhain, and some of you may be very familiar with Samhain, this time of year, this cross-quarter day between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. We're in that halfway point. And we celebrated on October 31st on the Celtic wheel, but it actually will be exact on Monday, November 7th. So we're in this Samhain window of again, when the veil is thin. So this whole week, we're going to kind of be feeling this energy and maybe feeling loved ones close by. And Samhain means summer's end, and it's a time of the last harvest, a time of going inward, and a time of descent into the depths of our own being. So I just wanted to also share this. I wore this mask to a SoulCollage conference 10 years ago, and it bears the lipstick imprint. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of hard to see these days, of Sina Frost. And Sina Frost, here she is here, is the creator, founder of SoulCollage some 20-something years ago. And this is her book, SoulCollage Evolving, that if you're interested in learning more, you can get the book. But I went to a conference and we dressed up as archetypes. And so I had this mask on and I was the dance of death. And she kissed me, which was kind of cool. And so every Samhain, I bring this mask out and I think of her, and I like to think that she's with us tonight. Her spirit is with us because she created this wonderful art process. Okay, make sure that I'm not missing anything. Yeah, Samhain, yes. Thank you for spelling that out, Natalie. Okay. So Sina was a psychotherapist, and she died in 2016. And in her book, she describes these 3 essential ingredients to making cards and doing this soul work. Imagination, the 3 I's: imagination, intuition, and imagery or images, which we're going to be working with tonight. And by the way, the moon is in Pisces. And that's a very dreamy time. You know, Pisces is a dreamy sign. And so, and it's kind of being in the flow and, you know, lighting up our intuition. So that's all good for us tonight as we play. And we're going to be primarily using our right brain, right? So the right brain is the part of us that is visually oriented and feeling oriented and intuitive, right? And open, we could say. The left brain is our logical, linear thinking side of the brain that we probably use most of the time. And I will say that is one of the things I do love about SoulCollage, is it helps me get out of my left brain and just able to kind of enjoy being in a right brain experience. Really being able to give my brain a rest. And I think we all need that. And just relax into your intuitive, artistic self. Okay, so let me just ask, how many of you have made a SoulCollage card before? Just raise your hand. Let's see. Okay, and how many have not? Okay, few people have not. All right. Okay, so I'm glad we kind of have a mix here of veterans and newbies. And I did invite the people who have made cards before to just come and make another card, because we're always interested in making more cards and creating a deck. That's kind of the goal, is to, as you make cards, you're creating your own oracle deck that you can use. Like every day you draw a card. It takes a while to start to build up a deck, but it is a wonderful self-care practice. And one of the reasons it's a great self-care practice is, again, because it does get you out of the left brain thinking, which can just be exhausting. So, it can really feel like playtime, and then you get to learn something and see something reflected back to you about yourself. And and I will talk about the 4 suits sort of towards the end of this. I don't want to get into it right now. For those of you who haven't made a card, I really want today to be kind of an intuitive experience where you're not thinking too much about suits and categories and things like that. So the reason I'm offered this today, this free introduction to SoulCollage, is, well, first of all, I love sharing this process with people and teaching people how to do it. And I have a new online course that starts on Friday called Goddesses of Self-Care, and it's based on my book, which came out this year, 30 Divine Feminine Archetypes to Guide You. So in the course, I actually am going to have 4 6-week courses based on each chapter of the 12 chapters of my book. And we're going to cover things from anxiety and fear is one chapter, depression and grief is another chapter, learning to mother yourself, resting and being present, health and healing. So all of these chapters will be covered in my course, and we'll meet the goddesses that I introduce in each chapter. And so part of what we'll be doing in this course is SoulCollage. And so I wanted to make sure that people who take my class have this opportunity to learn this process. And of course, I wanted to offer it to whoever was interested. And this will be recorded and shared, so for those who didn't make it tonight. So also there, I want to mention, I put this in the chat box, that there is the Goddess Mystery School is doing right now a Samhain Fest. So it started on Sunday and it goes through November 14th. And the Mystery School of the Goddess has all kinds of courses. Mine is available on that platform as well. And so that's a lot of fun. They're just doing all kinds of events, and this course is one of the offerings. And they have guided meditations, guided journeys, and a playlist, and they're doing some giveaways and different things like that. So if you're interested, you can sign up at that link that I put in the chat box. And then I also have the link to my course there if you're interested in that. So let's see, what else? So I've asked everybody to gather material for tonight, and so you can make your first card. And what you need is a 5x8 card. That is the standard size of a SoulCollage card, like this. And what you need is just a pair of scissors, a glue stick, and I suggested about 20 images. That's a good start to kind of have in front of you as you begin this process, so you're not overwhelmed with tons and tons of images. And also, I included a frame for you to download if you did do that. And you can download it and just cut it out. And then this allows you to take an image. So this is the 5x8 frame, the size of a card. Like if you had an image like this, and you wanted to just kind of figure out, let's see, what do I want on this card? Do I want just the lion? Do I want it to go this way? So you can go horizontal or vertical with a card. And let me show you that. So I did show you an example of a vertical card, but here's another one that is, I call the dance of death in the labyrinth of life. And after you finish making a card, you may come up with a title for it. And we are also going to learn, there's a journal prompt after you make a card, and we're going to do that in a minute. But that just kind of gives you an idea of, again, there's just 3 images. There's a background and the woman and the butterfly. And then let's see, I wanted to also show you. This card, if I can find it. Let's see. This is an example of a horizontal card, which I call intuition. And another example of, this, the other one, I cut out a background and covered the whole card with the labyrinth background. This one was just the background is the card itself. So it had a silver background. And I found these images that all sort of had this indigo blue color, which reminded me of the third eye chakra. And I felt like this represented the archetype of intuition, my intuition. So that's just gives you an idea. You can go either direction. Okay. Let's see, what else? So what I wanted to do to start out tonight is to have, this is what I usually do when I have a live group, is I have everybody introduce themselves and say their name, and then just pick one of the images. You've got your images in front of you, and if you don't, then just kind of spread out the images around you and select one or let it choose you. What image jumps out at you? So the prompt that you use when you finish a card, and sometimes you don't know what your card means, oftentimes, and you do this little writing prompt that says, I am one who. And this just is a way for the card or the image to speak to you or through you. And I'll just give you an example. So I'm Stephanie, this is the image. I am one who is swimming to the surface after being underwater for a time, swimming in circles. That's just something I've been feeling lately. So that just kind of gives you an idea of how an image can speak to you, for you, through you. And what I'd like to ask, if anybody would be willing to show their card, or their image, I should say, that just the image that chose you, that you selected tonight for some reason, and say your name and I am one who, and just one sentence. What does that image say about you? Who might be willing to volunteer to do that? Okay, Lisa, just be sure and unmute yourself.
I've had this cut out for a little while. I'm Lisa Brooke, and I'm out in Oregon. And this is something I cut out at some point and just put in a pile of images. But tonight, it definitely says, I am one who needs to rest.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Let's see. You can just unmute yourself if I don't see you.
I'll go. It's Kathy, also in Oregon. In general, in SoulCollage, you try to stay away from words and stay more with images. But in this case, the words are important to me. Though they're probably upside down. The words say The Wrong Decision Fairy from a book of Good and Bad Fairies. And I am the one who is making a difficult decision and always doubts whether it's the right one. I am the one who will keep you confused. I am the one who doesn't believe everything will just work its way out.
All right. That image had a lot to say about you, for you. And thank you for bringing that up. I was going to get to that. There's no real right or wrong with SoulCollage or necessarily rules, but we tend to just stick with images and not words. Because again, we want to stay in our right brain because images are the language of the soul. But with SoulCollage, you can break rules, you know, and I do have a couple of cards, a few cards that have a word or two on them, and they're kind of hidden a little bit, but they're there and they just snuck on and I can't help it, right? So that's good to remember. Anyone else want to do one more? Okay, Natalie.
Come on, there we go. I was hoping for something more positive, but the past few days have been a bit, so this one spoke. I'm feeling a bit, so I am one who's feeling quite overwhelmed. I kind of got some mom and in-law elder care issues and the exploding light bulb when I'm in the middle of creating, and just, you know, sometimes life just feels a little heavy.
Yeah.
So I like, but this, I mean, and again, the other thing, I mean, I'm a SoulCollager, and and I'll tell the other ones, you know, it can be pretty ethereal. There's the dark side, the shadow side, that you need the images that are tough too, that you know, that it's all aspects of your life. So this has been a rough few days. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm here for self-care.
All right, great. Yes, some days we just have a Great Dane sitting on our lap, right? Okay, thank you for sharing that. So you get the idea that how an image can speak for you or through you. And if I had asked everybody here to introduce yourself and just say something about yourself without an image, you know, would have likely said, well, I'm a mom, or this is my job, or this is my role in life. And that's what we tend to do. And I love that, you know, talking about ourselves through images reveals something that we don't typically tell people, or maybe even have access to. So these images allow us to kind of tap into our unconscious in a sense and bring these things up to consciousness. Oh yeah, I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed. That image really sums it up. All right. So if anybody wants to write their I am one who in the chat box, you're welcome to, even though we can't see the image, it still might tell us a little something about you and what you're feeling and noticing today. So feel free to do that if you would like. Okay. So let's get down to what's involved in making a SoulCollage card. So as I said, you don't usually include words, and you let the images tell a story, is in essence. It can be two images would make a collage, I would say at least two, and then it could be many images, but you're kind of looking to create one energy per card. I think Kathy mentioned, you know, shadow. So if you're familiar with the term shadow, it's a Jungian term that has to do with those parts of us that we don't really like to see, but they're there. Things like maybe jealousy or hurt, things that we, you know, are feeling, but we don't really want to share. Or, I mean, these are normal feelings, anger and hurt, but sometimes they come out in ways that we don't like. So if you were going to make a card for that, which is fine, just you don't want to do the light and the dark on one card, like the light and the shadow. You want to do 2 separate cards. So that's just something to keep in mind. But tonight, I'm really just going to encourage you to make 1 card and just see what comes out. And again, just using your intuition and not having an agenda, not knowing what you're going to make. I do think that later, as you start building a deck, you can be a little bit more intentional about maybe what cards you want to make. I've made many goddess cards, again, because of my course. I've even used some of my collages, goddess collages in my book. Like this is a bear goddess here. And another example would be, this is Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess from Egypt. So, they're fun to, even intentionally making a card, you still have this whole intuitive process that's part of it in terms of what images you choose and how you put them together and how you see an archetype, for example, like a goddess. And tonight you might put some images together and be surprised and go, wow, well, I think that's that's a goddess, and maybe that's or maybe I made a card for death or love, these archetypal themes. Okay, so let me just take a look. Somebody said, I am one who is at a precipice between a rock and a hard place, one whose cracks are beauty. And I'm the one who swims out of chaos. So wonderful. So Kelly asks where to find good images. Of course, magazines, and again, it depends, some magazines have better images than others. I think National Geographic, Smithsonian, any sort of art or photography magazine is going to be great. Spirituality and Health, Psychology Today. These are magazines I often look at. Calendars are another great source of images. Sometimes I go to the recycling bins or you can ask libraries if they recycle magazines, or salons. And Kathy says she buys inexpensive used coffee table books. Yes, yard sales, thrift stores are places to find things like that. And I do the same. I'm always looking. And I have a lot of images to choose from because, I want them for myself and I want them to share. So if you're going to do this, you will be collecting images, Anybody else have any other suggestions for good magazines that have a lot of good arty kind of images?
Yes, I would recommend American Art Collector. It's just filled with art images and stuff. Even the ads are got great images and stuff.
Great. American Art Collector. Okay. Wow.
Gardening magazines, and like here at UNC has the botanical garden, and the members get this, I don't know, quarterly letter that has just beautiful images. And
yeah, great idea. Yep. Yeah, even sometimes junk mail stuff comes in, and you're like, oh, that's a cool image. And so I save anything that catches my eye. And, you just put them in a bin. Like I have a bin, I have lots of bins actually, but, a basket, a bin, something where you can just kind of put your images, and also just sitting in front of maybe the TV, or maybe you're listening to a podcast or you have music on, and just tearing images out of magazines can be kind of a meditative process, I find. And the other thing that I do is I try to cut off the words. So when I collect images, when I'm tearing them out of magazines, I'm really just trying to get only images, get rid of those words, because I don't want to read and I don't want to think. Okay.
Steph, can I share? I've got a, if it belongs to Costco. Okay, let me see if I can shift over here. Oh, there they are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing this for a while. So these colored bins, and I've labeled them by people, animals, landscape. And they stack nicely. So
different
just an
colors.
idea. If you really get into it and to keep, because at one point I had all the images like in a box and then it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I need a person. And if I'm doing the ones with chakras, I need animals. Like, okay, this one feels like it needs like a nature background. This one feels more architectural background.
Yeah.
This one. So basically just a good way to keep organized. And Costco's got these great bins every once in a while.
Yeah,
So.
cool. Yeah, and I think you can get them at Michael's and those kinds of
Yeah.
things too. And just, yeah, I categorize the bins. So you might have like landscapes and backgrounds. You might have animals in one. You might have people in another, objects, things like that. And that does help when you're kind of looking for images so that you don't have to just go through a huge pile. And so thank you for sharing that. So, are there any questions? I want you to just trust the process today and make your first card, or if not your first card, another card. I did suggest some of you might want to make an ancestor card because it is the Day of the Dead, so All Souls Day. And if you have a picture of an ancestor or a loved one, you might want to make a card that would fit into your committee suit, which I will talk about later after we've all created cards. So any questions? Did you feel like you all have an idea? A few of you who haven't ever done it before, like you kind of know what you're doing, all right. And I would just like to, before we start, kind of leave you with these words by the poet Rainer Maria Rilke. The work of the eyes is done. Go now and do the heart work on the images imprisoned within you. Don't draw conclusions too quickly from what happens to you. Just let it happen to you. With that, I will be playing some music, and you have 45 minutes to create a card. And if you finish your card within that amount of time, and you obviously can make a second card if you'd like. Sometimes I make two at a time because I have two different backgrounds and I'm looking. It's up to you. Goal is to at least get one card done today. And if you finish within that 45 minutes, and I'll be playing some music during this time, write, I am one who. After you've finished your card, take it and look at it. And again, you may come up with a title or not, doesn't matter, and see what the card says to you when you say, I am one who. All right, so write that down, and then we will share with each other what we created. Does anybody have any questions before we start? Okay, and if you do have questions, just type them in the box for me and I'll, kind of keep an eye out. All right. Can everybody hear that okay? We have about 5 more minutes. So see if you can kind of wrap up your image making. And write the I am one who. Did everyone get a chance to finish a card? Or come close to finishing a card? Okay, and if you have a minute to write I am one who, or just maybe what I'd like to do, since there's really only 12 of us here, maybe we can go around and share and just hold up your card and say I am one who. And you don't have to explain anything, you don't have to give any sort of preamble, just say that I am one who, so a sentence or two. Are you willing to start, Karen? Just unmute.
Yes. Well, I made 2 cards because you mentioned the Day of the Dead and I had images. I made this card. Let's see. I am one who has died and become an ancestor. I am one who hangs out in graveyards. I am one who celebrates with the living on the Day of the Dead. And I had a few other things, and then this is a second one I made because of what I'm going through right now. I am one who is contemplating death, my own death. I am one who sees the face of death reflected back to me. I am one feeling a range of emotions, sadness, angst, fear, confusion. And I'll just say today is my dad's birthday, and this was an ancestor card that I made from him about a year ago. And it has aspects of his life on it. So
Nice.
I won't take any more time.
Thank you for sharing those. Beautiful. We're going through some heavy stuff, Karen.
Yeah.
And we wish you the best. Anyone else like to share? Did I see a hand? You can just unmute and hold up your card and share it. Flora? Well, I will share this one I made. I am one who dares to look beneath the surface, into the darkness, to see what lurks below. This helps me transform fear.
I have one I can share. I'm still working on I just have a brief description of the I am one who.
Your screen is really blurry. Do you know why?
Yep. Is it better now?
Yes.
The camera comes in and out. It's like, I am one who transforms, rebirths, and is free.
You're a fucking rock star, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. There is stuff behind that, but
Those words need to be there, I guess.
they did.
Good. Okay. Someone else?
Okay, I'll share. Hi, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, this is, I am the one who swims out of chaos. I don't know if you can see, I just have a little tablet, so, but these are leopards and they were drowning, and it was in Australia, I believe. There were 5, but there was some kind of a flood, and they all managed to survive. So
Is that
my card is a little big though.
okay? Made it on a bigger card.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'll go. It's Kathy. So I started with this one, the indecision fairy, and it was so negative. It's I am the one who is, that I had to create a counterbalance. I just couldn't bear it. So it was saying, I am the one who doubts everything you do, who taunts you with indecision. I am like Schmeagol in The Lord of the Rings. If you say you're going to do something, I say, no, no, you can't. And then this one. And she says, I am the one who loves you regardless. I'm the one who doesn't care what you do. I am the one who admires all you have done, all you have accomplished. That's it.
All right.
Mhm.
Elisa?
Yeah. And thanks, Stephanie, for
Hi.
doing this tonight.
Sure.
Let's see. Oh, I'm going to have a hard time here because I blurred my background. Wait, hold on.
There we go.
There we go. I am the one who, in the midst of the storm, emerges to seek safety and shelter until the storm passes.
All right. Thank you. I can resonate with seeking shelter from the storm these days.
I'll go.
Mhm.
See it?
Yes, Colette.
All right. I am the one who sees into the outer realms and the inner realms and dimensions of your mind, heart, and soul. I am she who sees all, for I am she who is all and in all things.
Lovely. Thank you. Is that your first time making a card, Colette?
No, but it's been several years since I've
Okay.
done it,
Great.
actually. Yeah, thank you.
Natalie?
So here's my, so it's like, I am one who gets overwhelmed at times and weighted down by many responsibilities. But I'm one who also reminds you then when those times happen to just stop for a moment, breathe, and practice self-care. So I found like this kind of crazy quilt background and this kind of swirling energy. And, so if I would happen to pull this on a day, my life tends to be, just remember, this is going to remind me just, yeah, life is chaotic and crazy, but you know what? Then you just got to stop and breathe and have a cup of tea and, so.
Practice self-care. Make a soul collage card.
Exactly.
Lisa?
I transformed my swimming gal. And I am one who craves simplicity and quietude, time to heal and be still and renew my strength.
Mm. Hello. Anyone else want to share?
I can share.
Okay.
This is my card. Gotta get the right angle. I am one who is beautiful silence, a pause, a reflection. I am one who is beautiful because of the healed cracks. And I am one who is hidden in plain sight.
Mm. Is that the first time you've made a card, Jennifer?
No, but I haven't done it in about a year. So
Okay. All
back.
right. Anyone else? Flora, Ben?
I'd
Gail?
like to share.
Okay,
Let's see if I can make my video go.
there you are.
So my card, if you can see it, I thought that the statement was, I am one who doesn't know where to go, but I was corrected. I think it might be a shadow card.
Mm.
I am one who wants more, is what I came up with.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, you can sit with a card and, sometimes you're not quite sure what its message is and it'll come to you later. You can keep shaping it. There's a few times when I've written an I am one who, and by the way, I try to keep these in a journal that I can go back to. And, you know, sometimes I go back to that original message and meaning, and other times the card has new meaning for me. And it has a new message. So I think, you know, it's okay. And the card can just work its magic that way.
I can go ahead and go.
Right.
Can you turn?
Wow. This is my card. See it?
Mhm.
There we go. I wrote down, I am one who seeks to explore not only physically, but spiritually. And I am one who needs to stop every now and then to appreciate the simplicity and embrace complexity.
Mm. Like it. Thank you.
I can go too. There's that. And I'm one who chokes on abundance.
I like it. All right, thank you. Were any of the messages or images that are the final product surprising to any of you? Kind of like not what you expected? Gail, did you get a chance to share or did you want to? Oh, you shared.
Yes, she did.
Okay,
Yes.
you had the iPad.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute, but yes, I did share.
Okay, you did. Yeah, you had the iPad. All right. So looks like everybody had a chance to share. I know Kelly didn't make a card, but she can do that later, and we'll have this available for people to watch and learn how to do it. I just wanted to briefly thank you all for sharing your heart and soul. And these cards, you know, just the more you make, the more you see and learn about yourself. And I do want to just touch on the suits so that you have that information that you can go away with. This is a diagram of the suits. There are 4 suits to a SoulCollage deck. And one of them, well, you see around the outer edge, it says source. So there's 3 transpersonal cards. And that includes the source card, which kind of encompasses all. And in the middle, you see the witness and the soul essence. So there's 3 transpersonal cards. And that's separate from the 4 suits, which is the council suit at the top there, which contains archetypes. So archetypes could be like we've been talking about, for example, goddesses. I mean, those are all archetypal figures, and love and death and say intuition. You can come up with a lot of, you know, archetypes are tend to be the characters and patterns. I'm going to have to let my cat in because she's making a lot of noise. Sorry about that. It was distracting me. So archetypes are characters, patterns, things that we might dream about, you know, the witch, just standard things that we all notice, like the magician, all the tarot archetypes in the major arcana, those kinds of things. So that's an entire suit, and you may find that you're making an archetype that you didn't realize you were making until you finish it. And everyone is encouraged to make an archetypal card of death and love. Those are 2 major archetypes that, you know, are important to have in a suit, or in a deck, I should say. And then there is the committee over here. That is the suit of the inner parts, or the subpersonalities, we could say. So it could be like the teacher, or the scared little girl, or the wounded child, So we can come up with many, many different subpersonalities or parts to ourselves, some helpful, some not so helpful. And it's really a good idea to get to know all these different parts. Everybody has an inner critic. So making a card for the inner critic and kind of seeing what does he or she look like, and maybe the inner perfectionist. So we can come up with all these different parts. And as a psychotherapist, I find this is a very helpful suit for people to explore and understand, you know, different parts of themselves who may need to be, you know, tamed a little bit. They need to calm down, not have quite so much power. And then we have companions here, which are the animal guides that help us. They're related to the chakras. So the 7 chakras, you choose a different animal guide for each of the chakras, or you let them choose you again. And that can be a whole process of learning, you know, the different chakras and how that might be manifesting in your body at this particular time. And so these animal companions can become allies for healing. And you could also make animal cards that aren't necessarily related to the chakras, that you also see as, you know, totems, animal guides, helpers. And then the 4th suit is the community suit. And this would be like Karen shared a card that she made of her father or an ancestor. So those would be in the community. It could be anybody that you know. Oftentimes we use pictures, photographs for the community suit. It could be teachers, mentors, groups that you belong to that are important to you, friends, family members. And it's really great to feel like sometimes you have these people in your corner, you have cards for them, so that if you are drawing a card and it's, you know, out of your oracle deck and there's my dad. I haven't, you know, my dad's not with me anymore, but he showed up in my suit and I feel his presence. And sometimes we can ask questions, you know, and pull a card and see who answers. Could it be an archetype that has a message for us, or, you know, a family member or a friend? So those are the 4 suits. And again, the more cards you make, the more you kind of start to get a feel for which card goes into which suit. And you can find that, you know, helpful. You could divide them up into suits and do readings in which you draw 1 card from each suit, for example, if you wanted to. And then the source card, you know, is again the sort of the unmanifest, the mystery. So what does that look like? You know, it looks different for each of us. How do we envision the source of our being? And can be a fun card to make. And sometimes, again, you'll just put some images together and you'll make a card and you don't know that you're making a source card, but you look at it and go, wow, that's my source card. Soul essence. So that again is a card that just reflects your individual spark, your unique and divine potential. How do you see that? You know, how would you envision that and put that together with images? And then thirdly, in the transpersonal realm is the witness. And that is the part of ourself that is a bit detached and has this ability to observe and see us from, you know, a distance. And I guess we could just say that's, you know, again, our divine potential. Or I'm sorry, witness, non-judgmental consciousness. So, and that can be helpful when we have a dilemma and we want to ask a question or have our witness give us maybe some information about what it's perceiving or what we see when we detach. So that is the 4 suits and the transpersonal cards. And one final thing I did want to say is one of the rules of SoulCollage, or one of the is that the SoulCollage cards are not to be sold, traded, or bartered. They are really for your personal use only. And this keeps you out of trouble with copyrighted images you might use, because, you know, we're pulling from books and magazines. And so we have to be aware of that in terms of, we can certainly show them to friends and others and play with them that way. But like putting them up on a website, you know, could be problematic. And with the cards that collages I made for my book, I had to make sure that I was using copyright-free images. And a lot of old art and images that you might find in old books, usually before a certain year, I don't know what year it is, but maybe 1930, most of those are copyright-free. So that can be a good source. And like I was saying, goddess images, many of the goddess images are copyright-free because they're, you know, old or ancient art. So if you want to go there, you can find lots of images, say on Google Images, or art books and things like that. So that's just something to be aware of. But for the most part, you know, it's fun to share your cards with your friend group and get together and do readings. Any other questions? We're at the end of our time together. Been a fun hour and a half with you all, and I really love seeing what you did, and so glad you participated. Anybody?
Yes,
Mhm.
I have a quick question. How many images to a card? Is there a limit or no limit?
There isn't a limit, but again, you're wanting to just kind of feel into it. Like, does you know, these 3 images that I chose here tells enough? You know, maybe I decide I would want more, but you don't want to just be a collage of images that kind of or don't mean anything. You're kind of looking for, this says something, like it's almost like this tells the story that I want to tell. Does that make sense to you? So it's a feel. It's you know, again, no right or wrong. Some cards that I make have lots of images, and some have just very few. So no right or wrong.
Stephanie, what might maybe help is kind of like the core energy. I mean, you know, because Sina talks about in the book, but there's kind of like a core energy to the, because you have so many images, what is it saying? But if you know what the core energy of the card, then all those images, 1, 2, 3, 6, all are about, so maybe explain core energy, I guess, a little bit, right?
Yeah, I touched on that at the beginning, but you're right. Like each card should have its own sort of energy to it. You know, you don't want to have several different things going on in your card, if as much as possible. And it's hard to say, because sometimes, you know, it takes a number of images to get that sense that I've created the card, the energy that I want, and other times, you know, it just is very few. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. And Kathy mentioned about kaleidosol.com is a place to get card stock and supplies. These sleeves, these cellophane sleeves, you can put your card in to protect it. And also SoulCollage.com. So kaleidosol.com and SoulCollage.com are places, and even Amazon.com sells kits. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, and will go forth and multiply with your cards.
Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed this. I'm sorry I didn't make a card because I didn't feel like I could find the images.
Well,
But
now
really,
you know. You
yeah,
know, right? You know
now
what
I
to do.
understand it.
And
Yes.
I bet you when you do this, when you sit down and pull some images together and just get it, you'll quickly put something together. So
This was lovely and wonderful. Thank you so much. Really quickly though, Gail, I was interested and intrigued that she put the leopards that almost drowned, but they survived. And I thought that was very thoughtful and caring. And I was just curious what the name of her card was, if she can share again, because I just missed by a second what she was saying. Thank you. If she could.
Is that Lisa? No. who was
No,
that?
I think it was Gail's card
Oh,
with
Gail. Okay.
yeah, she was on the iPad or something.
Oh, and I think she might, is she still here? There she is. Gail, you just have to unmute and
Am I muted?
there you go.
Okay. What was the name of my card?
Did you come up with a title for it?
I didn't do a title. I just said, I am the one who swims out of chaos.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm very connected to Sekhmet, and cats are very special to me of any type.
Yes. Cool. Yeah, that can happen where you kind of have a certain symbol or image that you're drawn to, and it shows up over and over maybe in your cards because you have this feline cat energy and you feel connected to Sekhmet, and so that will show up. But thank you. Yeah, not every one is going to name their cards or come up with a title, but if you do, that's kind of cool, especially when you're doing a reading for yourself. All right.
Can
Thank
I
you.
ask
all.
really quick, Jennifer Lewis, what is that artwork behind you?
It's actually a quilt. It's a giant quilt.
Okay, I'm a quilter. Hexagons?
Yeah, it's the circles that are folded into hexagons.
I'm a quilter, so I'm kind of like, thank you. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, very colorful and vibrant. Did you make it?
I did make it. I actually started making it when my mother was in hospice,
Mm,
and I hung it on the wall, completed it at the 1-year anniversary of her passing. So
wow.
it's a very powerful memento for me.
Mhm. And what a thing to have behind you, just kind of enveloping you. It's lovely. All right. Thank you all. And if you want to come to my Goddesses of Self-Care course, I'm going to be doing 4 of them to cover all the chapters of my book. Starts on Friday. The link is up at the top of the chat box. And I know some of you are coming, and I look forward to seeing you in just a couple of days. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.